Video is about the middle cerebral arteries. We're going to look at their distribution in the brain and see which parts are supplied. You'll recall that the middle cerebral arteries arise as a continuation from the internal carotids, and that they are some of the largest of the cerebral arteries, and they supply a very large area of brain. So here are the internal carotid arteries, and you can see at this point here them splitting into the middle cerebral artery, which runs laterally, and the anterior cerebral arteries, which run anteriorly. So the middle cerebral arteries, they run laterally and then they go over the insular cortex and emerge through the Sylvian fissure, through the lateral fissure, onto the surface of the cerebral hemisphere. Before we look at their distribution on the surface of the hemisphere, I'll just point out some of these small branches that we've got here. These are the lenticulostriate arteries, and we're going to do a separate video on these because they're important from the point of view of stroke. So the middle cerebral arteries emerge laterally onto the surface of the cerebral hemisphere, and then they pass superior and inferiorly from the Sylvian fissure. So if we look at the top right image, here's the Sylvian fissure here, and we can see our branches of the middle cerebral arteries coming out and going superiorly and also inferiorly. And effectively what the middle cerebral arteries do is they supply this large area on the lateral aspect of the cerebral hemisphere. And this incorporates some frontal lobe, some parietal lobe, and some temporal lobe, particularly the superior part of the temporal lobe. This is made clearer in the images at the bottom, and if we just focus on this third image from the left here, the middle cerebral artery distribution is in the yellow colour, and once again we can see that it is supplying mostly this lateral aspect of the cerebral hemisphere, including frontal, parietal and the superior part of the temporal lobe. Additionally, on this transverse section, you can also see that the middle cerebral arteries supply some of the deeper structures as well. So as they are passing laterally on their way to the Sylvian fissure, they're sending a number of branches into the deep structures of the hemisphere. And we can see that on this transverse section and also this coronal section. Why is it important for you to know about the distribution of the middle cerebral artery? Well, of course, a lot, the motor cortex sits here, the primary motor cortex, and the primary sensory cortex sits here. So in a stroke where the middle cerebral artery is occluded, we can get effects on the motor and sensory system. Okay, we can get upper motor neuron signs because we have deprived the primary motor cortex of a blood supply. And in addition, these lenticular striate arteries are some of the commonest arteries to be blocked, leading to stroke. Furthermore, this large area supplied by the middle cerebral arteries means that the fibres in the optic radiations can be affected in large infarcts involving the middle cerebral artery. So that's all I've got to say on the middle cerebral artery, and this is just meant to be a very brief description of that.